RIMS is global. Discover why 10,000 of your peers in more than 60 countries are part of the world's largest risk management community. Visit rims.org/membership to find the best membership for you and your organization. Public registration is open for RISKWorld 2026, which will be held May 3rd through the 6th in Philadelphia. Visit rims.org/RISKWorld to register. Coming to you from RIMS headquarters in New York, this is RIMScast, the official podcast of the Risk and Insurance Management Society. I am Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS, and your proud RIMScast host. This is episode 382. We will be joined by Water Environment Federation Executive Director Ralph Exton. He's here to talk about the circular water economy ahead of March 22nd, which is World Water Day. This is probably my favorite topic. But first, let's talk about virtual workshops, starting with the RIMS CRMP. The next RIMS CRMP exam prep course will be April 21st and 22nd, and then again June 9th and 10th. Links to registration are on this episode's notes. On to virtual workshops. On April 15th, we have a virtual workshop covering emerging risks, and that will be led by our good friend Joseph Mayo. Register today and strengthen your risk knowledge. RIMS members always enjoy deep discounts on the virtual workshops. And we've got RIMS webinars coming up. The Hard Hats and High Stakes webinar, spotlighting women leaders in risk and construction, was rescheduled to March 20th. The registration link is on this episode's show notes. You will have to register again if you had previously done so. And on April 16th, Zurich and World Travel Protection will present Navigating the New Global Risk Landscape, Lessons for Business Travelers in Unstable Times. Register for these and other webinars by visiting rims.org/webinars and the links on this episode's show notes. We've got some more plugs coming up later. Let's get on with the show. Our topic is water risk management, and we are joined by the Executive Director of the Water Environment Federation, Mr. Ralph Exton. He has decades of professional experience with water risk, and he is here to discuss what the Water Environment Federation refers to as the circular water economy, WEF's value of water campaign, methods for responsible water risk management, and his approach to World Water Day 2026, which emphasizes water access and gender equality. I'm excited. Let's get to it. Ralph Exton, welcome to RIMScast. Right. I am joined for this special World Water Day episode of RIMScast by Water Environment Federation Executive Director Ralph Exton. Ralph, welcome to RIMScast.
And thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very much looking forward to this conversation.
Likewise. Water is the topic that I can understand the best here at RIMS because I need it. So it makes a lot of sense to me and it resonates on a lot of different levels. Before we get too deep into the water, could you please fill in the audience, give us the abridged version of Ralph Exton's career and how you landed at WEF and became its executive director?
Yeah, it's a great way to start because my career started with water. Like first day of the first job I ever had, I was, recruited into an industrial facility to go into a training program. It was a manager development training program. It was like a 2-year program, 4 6-month rotations, learning the ins and outs of the operation, and then moving into a management position. So it was a great hands-on opportunity for a recently graduated mechanical engineer from Penn State University, right? So I graduated on a Saturday. I drove to Eastern Pennsylvania on Sunday, and I went to work on Monday and was given my first assignment. My first assignment was, to manage and supervise the water operations at this industrial facility. And
oh wow,
and I didn't know that.
Responsibility for a you, young man.
Yeah, it was like crazy amount of responsibility because I had no idea what I was doing. Mechanical engineers learn a lot of stuff, and I went there because I was interested in robots and rockets and cars and, everything that mechanical engineers, hold dear, right? And so when they told me my first assignment was water, I'm like, wait, I thought there was going to be robots. Where's the robots?
Where's my flying car?
Exactly. What is up with this? But I got to tell you, it did not take long And, once you understand how important water is to an industrial operation, just about any industrial operation is dependent on water. And then you realize how important water quality is to the environment at the same time. Everybody knows that water is important from a personal standpoint because, you gotta, you need a drink of water, right? You got to use it
Sure.
to make your food, got to bathe in it. But like when you understand those other bigger factors, it becomes inherent in the way you think about your job. And for me, it was my how I thought about my career, because I did water day one and I've done water ever since. And I tell people, once you get your hands wet
Ah,
in water, they'll never be dry.
right.
So it's and so yes, my entire career has been water. Early part of the career was very operational, very industrial. I worked in industry. It was very hands-on. And then I worked for water technology companies,
Yeah.
and eventually, the largest water, technology and services companies in the world. I worked for GE Water. I worked for Suez Water. I worked for Veolia Water. I worked for Grundfos Water. And they're all global powerhouses in what they do, and have done great things, for the water sector. But a couple of years ago, I've gotten to a point in my career where I wanted to, give back more. I wanted to be more directly focused on the impact that I can have on water in the environment. And, I had spent a lot of time with the Water Environment Federation, as a customer, as a volunteer, as a board member over the years. I mean, all of that, all of those things that I did with the Water Environment Federation throughout my career helped me considerably. It was such an important organization for making connections in the water sector, but also for learning what I need to know to do my job more effectively. So when the opportunity came up to be part of the organization that has been so important to my career for all those years, I jumped at it and was very fortunate enough to be selected to be in this position. That was about, it was mid 2024. So,
Okay.
we'll be pushing 2 years in summertime.
Excellent.
And just thrilled with the opportunity and just sort of the aspect of my direct contributions now to water and the environment, which I hold dear, has just been fantastic. And the organization has always done super important things, and I get to be part of making those things a reality now, and it's great.
Terrific. Is World Water Day a big deal for you
Of
personally
course.
and at the WEF?
Of course, has
Yeah.
been for a long time, but yes,
It's March 22nd, right?
that's correct.
All right. So this year it emphasizes water access and gender equality.
Yeah.
Now, from your vantage point and as a UN water partner, how are water access challenges directly connected to economic participation and community resilience?
Yeah, that's great. So, look, WEF, I call it WEF.
Can I
Some
can
people
I
say
call it WEF
WEF.
too?
You
Do I
can
have
call it
that?
WEF. Please,
Yeah,
please
okay.
do. Yeah. Look, we're a strong supporter of water access,
Yeah.
environmental justice, and of course, gender equality. So, and yes, we are a UN water partner, which we're very proud of. And it really comes down to this. Look, so access to clean water and sanitation is directly correlated with a higher level of education, gender equality, and economic stability. So if you have one, you're going to get the other, right? It's a high correlation. In particular, ready access to clean water and toilets is crucial for women, especially at school ages. And I know it seems obvious to say this, but the reality is that, if women aren't carting water all day long, from point A to point B, there's more hours for them to spend with access to schooling,
Sure.
and to joining the workforce. And there's also a very high correlation with women in the workforce and economic well-being, not only of the family, but economic well-being of within the region, and then that spills off into sort of national economies. So it all ties together, right? So, the access to water and sanitation, the ability to, you know, not be dependent on women from providing that access to water, right? Ties into local economies in more ways than one, right? And
Right.
and so we look at, the theme for this year's, Water Day, and it just ties it all together. And it's something that it ties it together from a WEF standpoint too, because this is core to some of the work that we do. And I'll give you some examples here. So we have a we have a program called Charities of Choice, and
Yes.
and we're thrilled that we're able to do this because what we do is we recognize and support and promote several not-for-profit organizations that focus on that philanthropic and charity work, both domestically and in developing countries, that provide services and help that ensure that the water environment is enhanced or preserved, or that public health is protected. So, a couple examples here. So, global water stewardship, they work to resolve sanitation issues in the developing world by educating people and doing things like engineering sustainable centralized solutions, that keep waterways clean and communities healthy. Water for People. This is an international nonprofit that's based in Denver, Colorado. And their goal is to bring water, sanitation, and hygiene services to everyone, and to make those solutions last, not a one and done type of thing. Engineers Without Borders. They build what they call a better world through engineering, focusing on projects that empower communities to meet their basic human needs and equip leaders to solve, some of the world's most pressing water challenges. And then there's Operators Without Borders, right? So we got Engineers Without Borders. We also have Operators Without Borders. So, and they really look to provide, certified volunteer water and wastewater operators that can support primarily utilities in developing, countries following emergency or disaster situations. To ensure that safe drinking water and wastewater management services get resumed, in a fast period of time.
So do
But
you provide endowments and grants to those organizations, or you partner with them to raise money?
We do a combination of things.
Yeah.
It's depending on the circumstance. Largely, we provide them with a platform and access to, literally tens of thousands of people around the world that are part of our, membership and part of our, sort of communities that we build.
Yeah.
So they're on a platform that's aligned to access to all those people is our primary role in that. But if there's water related emergencies and things like that, we also have grants and things like that we will provide.
And so for our listeners in the risk profession, what practical role can organizations play in supporting efforts like the ones that you just mentioned beyond philanthropy?
So there's a number of things. So volunteer work is probably the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
So yes, obviously making donations dollar wise, to any of these organizations is super important. But
every cent counts, right?
Every cent counts for them. I mean, it's because a lot of it involves having to travel distances in order to solve the problems, right? Feet on the street, boots on the ground, whatever you want to call it, is a big cost component of it. But the other cost component of it is it's training, right? Because if you send a bunch of people to a certain location to solve a problem and then you hightail it out to go to the next location and leave the people there left with like, okay, now what do we do? Without the proper training and understanding of what needs to be done, then it's not going to last, right? So to your point, every dollar counts, but so does volunteering or participating in some of these projects because that's what they need is they need people, and particularly people that can travel locally or be locally trained and things like that in order to make these things sustainable.
Do you find that the most active participants or volunteers are the ones who are in, let's just say, food and beverage sectors?
It's a
People
mix.
who have sort of a vested interest career-wise?
Yeah, so food and beverage, plays a big role in that, but it's also, it's the you can provide somebody, a meal, or you can teach them how to grow that meal, right?
Right.
And so there's the short term and the long term aspects of these situations. Is short term, yeah, like dump a bunch of food and water at a location, but longer term, what you really need to do is make sure that they have the infrastructure, the training, and the knowledge and the resources to to grow or provide for themselves in the long run.
Right. I'm glad you brought up infrastructure, because you have the Value of Water campaign, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So WEF in that campaign highlights state-by-state economic benefits of investing in water infrastructure. What does the data tell us lately about the cost of inaction versus ROI?
Yeah, the Value Water campaign, it's a coalition of sorts. The U.S. Water Alliance, is the secretariat. They spearhead this, but there's lots of organizations involved. WEF is very, very involved and a proud part of the Value Water campaign steering committee. And we're at a pivotal moment regarding water infrastructure right now.
Yeah, globally or just in the U.S.?
Let's talk about the recent study, which is really the U.S., but
Okay.
it's a global issue for sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But the work that's been done recently was focused largely on the United States infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
We consistently get scored every couple of years on a A through F educational scoring system. Well, we don't score very well on the water infrastructure in the United States. So the research that's been done recently has a very powerful message, and it starts with what is the funding gap? What has been determined as the funding gap, and it's $1.8 trillion dollars in water infrastructure, between now and 2044.
Wow.
So that's a lot, right? And so, but it's also an opportunity, right? And the latest report from the Value Water campaign shows that what's impossible if we invest in water, and there's a ratio there, and it's an important one to know. So every $1 million directed towards water infrastructure generates $2.5 million in economic growth. So there is a return on this investment, right?
Yeah.
And it's an important return on the investment. It's not small amount either, right? So you put in 1 million, you get 2.5 million in economic growth out of it. And so that kind of return builds, stronger communities. It creates meaningful jobs, right? And will help to drive, innovation along the way. I would also add this, the opportunities in the report, identifies that, relying on and implementing circular water principles is going to be key.
Yeah.
Because these strategies help transform those linear systems that have been in place for a long period of time into more regenerative ones where water's reduced, water's recovered, water's regenerated. Constituents that you can pull out of the water can be regenerated and recovered, things like that. So we're committing to advancing this approach as well, as we help to sort of shape a resilient and inclusive future.
Ralph, could you remind us, is the Value of Water campaign's report that you just referenced, is that publicly available?
It is, yes, and the Value of Water campaign and the members associated with it want to make sure that all of this information is in as many hands as possible.
Great. We've got the link on this episode's show notes. Ralph was kind enough to supply the details there, and we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. We'll take a quick break. Let's get to some exciting announcements. RIMS is pleased to once again support the FIRMA Global Risk Manager Survey 2026. Now in its second consecutive global edition, the survey led by Firma brings together insights from Europe, the US, Latin America, Asia Pacific, and Africa, offering a truly international perspective on how the risk management profession is evolving. Surveys are anonymous and the final report is free. The deadline to participate is March 31st. A link is on this episode's show notes. And folks, we got to talk about Riskworld. Riskworld 2026 will be held May 3rd through the 6th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Riskworld attracts more than 10,000 risk professionals from across the globe. It's time to connect, cultivate, and collaborate with them. Booth sales are open now. General registration and speaker registration is also open right now. And marketplace and hospitality badges are now available. Links are on this episode's show notes, and be sure to check out rims.org for more information. And folks, the second annual RIMS Texas Regional Conference will be held in San Antonio, August 10th through the 12th. The call for submissions for educational sessions is open through March 18th. Check out the link on this episode's show notes and make a pitch. Hopefully you get selected and we see you in San Antonio. And the RIMS Western Regional Conference will be held October 4th through the 7th in Seattle, Washington. Registration is open and you can also submit a session. Visit rimswesternregional.com and the link on this episode's show notes for more information. We will have more plugs later. And now let's return to our interview with Water Environment Federation Executive Director Ralph Exton. We are back with WEF's Executive Director, Ralph Exton. And Ralph, we have someone in common because twice we've had Henk Ovink on RIMScast because I really wanted to cover World Water Day. And I went right to the top. I went to the Special Envoy for International Water Affairs for the Kingdom of the Netherlands. I haven't spoken to him in a few years, but you know him a little bit, right? Or
yeah. I mean, we work in the same circles, so we definitely cross paths. Sure.
And he's an inspiring guy.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Very knowledgeable, really understands sort of the global aspects of water and the importance of all the topics that we're talking about right now. So, yeah.
I remember, I think in my first interview with him, he pointed out how Heineken was one of the first to use their industrial sludge as an energy source to keep their plants going.
That's right.
I found that extremely fascinating and insightful. It's as far as I'm concerned, that's great for everybody. It's great for their reputation as well, right? Off the cuff, are there any other companies who are that progressively minded that you know of?
Yeah, there's actually plenty of examples out there, and we kind of refer to it as one of the pillars of the sort of the circular water economy, because if you're able to, recover energy from waste, recover nutrients from waste, recover in some cases, valuable, metals from waste, as opposed to just burying it in a landfill or pushing it deep down a well or whatever other methods there are that are in very much practice today, you can unlock a lot of economic opportunities that way. And so, this whole notion of, the waste that's generated at many waste treatment plants, can be converted to enough fuel to power all of the pumps and equipment that's needed to treat the water itself.
Yeah.
You've created, a microeconomic opportunity right there that you don't even have to rely on electricity from the grid because you're powering your own plant, right?
Yeah.
And so it's become, a growing scenario. We're as WEF, we're trying to do our part to promote as many of those opportunities we can. We give out awards every year that we've been, we call them utilities of the future that are doing this type of thing. We give out several of them every single year. So yes, there's plenty out there. We can generate lists. We highlight them on our website and in lots of other places at our annual events and things like that. And we love it and we want more of it. And what we found is, the more organizations, whether it be utilities or industries, that do this, not only does it, help the environment, it is creating economic opportunities as well, because
Right.
there's always going to be, byproducts and side streams that come off of any of these processes, where you can generate, economies around them, right? Whether you're extracting a nutrient, from a waste, whether you're pulling energy from that waste, you're able to create economies around those things.
Excellent. We will take one more quick break because I want to tell you a little bit more about my friends at the Spencer Educational Foundation. I want to tell you about the openings and the deadlines for various Spencer Educational Foundation grants. The Risk Manager on Campus application period will open April 1st, 2026, and it will close on June 30th. Grant awardees, colleges and universities, are typically notified in September. Now let's talk about course development grants. The application deadline for interval number 2 will be on June 15th, 2026, and award notifications will be sent out in late July. General grants will open on May 1st, and the application deadline is July 30th. And internship grant applications open on August 15th and close on October 15th. Links to each of these grants are on this episode's show notes. And of course, you can visit spencered.org for more information. And now let's conclude our interview with Water Environment Federation Executive Director Ralph Exton.
Now, I'm glad you brought up this circular water economy. It sounds pretty self-explanatory. From a risk perspective, how does adopting a circular water framework reduce exposure through the regulatory lens, or when it comes to reputation, or even climate-related disruptions? I know you hinted on it earlier, but I'd love to know more.
Yeah, so let's start with circular water economy. Let's define it first,
Sure.
Because I think that's one of the first parts. Because look, I've been fortunate enough to work in other parts of the world through all the different companies I've worked for, and the notion of circularity, started with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and they're really about circularity and building economies around implementing circular processes. And so the Water Environment Federation, we're focused on circularity in terms of water. So we've referred to it as the circular water economy. And we're positioning ourselves right now as a convener to lead way for the public and private sectors, to optimize and recover valuable resources from water and wastewater in ways that help fight, climate change, support equitable economic development, and ensure that there's water access. So the circular water economy exists when the public and private sectors optimize and recover valuable resources from water and wastewater in ways that fight climate change, support that development, and ensure water services. So the practices, though, help keep products and materials in use. They regenerate natural systems and design out waste and design out pollution from the equation. So the model helps to build a just and sustainable society. And we're working to lead that. There's three core principles of circular water economy. One is reduce. So minimize water usage and wastage, through efficient practices. The second is recover. And that's really what I was talking about before, about extracting valuable resources like energy or nutrients from wastewater. And then there's regenerate. And regenerate is really, how do you restore those natural ecosystems? For example, recharge aquifers, through sustainable water management practices. And the benefits of following sort of those core principles, are on one side of the equation. There's the environmental side, right? So reducing water pollution, preserving ecosystems. There's the economic side of the equation, which is lowering water treatment and extraction costs, supporting green jobs. And then there's the social aspect, which is, enhancing, water security and providing, equitable access to water resources.
Excellent. Because I can't imagine anyone not wanting to take the effort to have sustainable processes that can create clean water. And I think, I don't want to say unfortunately, but for lack of a better word, it seems as though it's necessary for someone in your position to provide the numbers and the ROI behind it in order to get people to act. That seems like it's just part of the job now, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we will provide a link to a report that we did last year that really talks about the economic opportunities that can be unlocked by implementing circular water principles.
Now, is circular water economy a WEF innovation, or was that something that you adapted?
So it's a little bit of both. It's how do we start with the principles of circularity and building circular economies, and how do we do it with a focused effort on water is sort of the direction that we took it, because we felt between water and waste, we could churn out a lot of economic opportunities just with a focus on that particular sector,
Sure.
and that's the sector that we support. So that's been our focus area.
Now, is that going to be a springboard for where you can make the greatest impact in the next 5 years?
We believe that it will make the biggest impact in the next 5 years, and that's why we're pushing it pretty hard. It's one of our of our 3 core strategic pillars. It's one of those, right? And that's why we're focused on it.
All right. So I'm going to let you go in a little bit, but like we said, it's World Water Day on March 22nd. This episode's coming out about 6 days ahead. So people have time to participate in their local World Water Day activity. They can they can volunteer, they can make a donation, all sorts of ways for them to get involved. But if you could leave the RIMScast audience with a mindset shift for this World Water Day, what would it be about treating water as a strategic governance level issue rather than an operational afterthought?
Well, Water Day, right? World Water Day, for me, I think the most important reminder that I can provide here is, that more than a utility or an enterprise risk, water risk, it's a human risk, really. Yeah. And because when water fails, water systems, water quality, water quantity, whatever it is, a lot of other things fail. It goes back to what I said about, working in industry, so operations fail, supply chains fail, workforce stability is disrupted, and public trust is ruined, right? Yeah. So women, families, entire communities absorb that impact first, which has direct economic consequences. So the most resilient organizations are elevating water subjects to the boardroom, right?
Right.
Treating it with the same rigor as they would like cybersecurity. That's a big topic of the day right now too, right? So water needs to be at the same level there with cybersecurity and financial risks, because water governance in itself is no longer just sort of an optional nice to have. It's foundational to resilience and equality, and I think that the theme of World Water Day this year speaks to that.
Excellent. Well, I think there are so many ways for RIMS and WEF to collaborate.
You bet.
And I look forward to hopefully getting you on a webinar about water management. We'll leave the topic open. I know you and I have some ideas that we'll discuss again off camera, but I love the work that you're doing. And I want to thank you so much for informing our audience about World Water Day and why water risk management is so central to almost everything that we do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Happy to provide.
All right.
Special thanks again to Ralph Exton of the Water Environment Federation for joining us here today on RIMScast. I've got links to WEF.org and the circular water economy on this episode's show notes. And be sure to check out the links on this episode's notes for prior RIMScast coverage of water risk and World Water Day. And remember that World Water Day is observed globally on Sunday, March 22nd, 2026. Everyone deserves access to clean water. And now I want to speak about a topic near and dear to my heart, sponsorships. You can sponsor a RIMScast episode either on our publicly facing weekly show, that's this show, or with a dedicated episode. RIMScast has produced special episodes for JB Boda, The Hartford, Alliant, Zurich, Highwire, AXA XL, Prudent Insurance Brokers, High Trust, and Aon. Links to sponsored episodes are on our show notes. RIMScast has a global audience comprised of risk and insurance professionals, legal professionals, students, business leaders, C-suite executives, and more. Let's collaborate and help you reach them. Contact pd@rims.org for more information. Let's talk about RIMS membership, folks. Become a RIMS member and get access to the tools, thought leadership, and network you need to succeed. Visit rims.org/membership or email membershipdept@rims.org for more information. And let's also talk about risk knowledge. This is the RIMS searchable content library that provides relevant information for today's risk professionals. Available materials include RIMS executive reports, survey findings, contributed articles, industry research, benchmarking data, and more. For the best reporting on the profession of risk management, check out Risk Management Magazine, the Society's official monthly publication. You can find us on rmmagazine.com. It is written and published by the best minds in risk management. My name is Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS. Please remember to subscribe to RIMScast on your favorite podcasting app. Email us at content@rims.org. Practice good risk management, stay safe, and thank you again for your continuous support.